Now, the Mahama administration officials are tonight defending the transfer of 40.5 million cedis from the bulk oil storage and transport to an account at the presidency managed by former Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, insisting there was nothing wrong with the payments. The Center for National Affairs has petitioned the special prosecutor to investigate what it says was the establishment of an illegal account at the presidency into which former BOST CEO Kwame Wadakon paid the said sums without statutory approval. The Economic and Organized Crimes Office, IOCO, is also investigating the issue, according to letters allegedly signed by Mr. Iwadakon. The payments were monies accrued from the security fees taken from bulk oil distribution companies' invoices to effect payments on the cost of petroleum products supplied by GOIL to security agencies. The BDCs have disputed the claim, insisting there is no such money they pay, describing the transaction as suspicious. Former Communications Director at the Energy Ministry and now MP for Bongo, Edward Bauer, has, however, defended the transaction. Joseph Opoku-Gapo has details of that. Joseph, first of all, what does Mr. Bauer say in his statement on this matter?
So he gives a background and explains that there was an arrangement for the bulk oil distribution companies to supply fuel to the military and other security agencies. But the military wasn't paying for the fuel. And so after some time, in order to keep the security apparatus running, there was a decision by government that the bulk oil storage and transport company, BOST, which is a government agency with a mandate to help preserve strategic stocks when it comes to oil, then takes over the supply. They did it for about 7 months. Again, there were concerns about payment, but more importantly, the attention was drawn to the fact that they are not an oil marketing company, so they can't continue doing that. So BOST handed over that assignment to GOIL, which is also partly owned by government, but then it's an oil marketing company to do that transaction. But then the military wasn't paying, and so the amount had to be paid. Eventually, there was a decision that in addition to paying for the fuel, additionally, GOIL will be paying 5 pesos on every liter of fuel that they supply to the military. And that amount that accrues will be used to clear the debts and ensure the necessary payment. And so he explains that there was the establishment of what they describe as the Chief of Staff's sundry accounts, and he says that this account is not fake and that it wasn't private, and that all monies that went into that account and the subsequent utilization of that is subject to all the necessary audits when it comes to public funds. And he concludes by making the point that it's not the case that the amount was transferred for private use. There are enough documentations to explain that this transaction actually did not result in any loss to the state or anything of that
This
sort.
5 pesos that you alluded to, there's some confusion about it. There are others who are saying that it can be, construed as a levy, but levies have to be approved by Parliament. Does he allude to that in his statement?
He explained that and says that this is something that got approval from the board of GOIL, that they were ready and willing to pay the additional 5 pesos, on every liter that they lifted, and that it's only GOIL that does this payment, which then goes through BOST to the Chief of Staff's office, and then the payment is done. And so it wasn't a levy of any sorts. The board of GOIL approved it, hence the decision to charge them for those.
Interesting. But Mr. Bauer is saying that this is just an attempt to divert attention. Attention from what specifically?
So he makes the point that there's been instances of alleged corruption cases relating to BOST that's come up. He says that recently there's been a situation with Moving Pina and Zoop Oil. This was actually earlier this year, and he says when that came up, this matter was first thrown in the effort to divert attention. And then he makes reference to what again he says is another case having to do with BOST that's come up recently, and says that there is also another effort to divert attention from that, which is why this matter has been thrown up once again. But he says it's been dealt with already, and that even the Economic and Organized Crimes Office investigated this matter and invited some of the officials earlier, and they didn't find anything wrong, and that there's been a $3 million alleged payment to Springfield Energy recently, which he says is the latest issue bring up BOST that there is the effort to divert attention from.
Very well. Many thanks for those details. Joseph Opoku-Kapo is my colleague here at Joy News. We're taking a short break for business, but coming up, marketing companies predict more price hikes if cedi depreciation persists and call on government to immediately review petroleum taxes in the price build-up.